Hi, my name's Victoria. Thank you to Simon and the rest of the programme organising committee for inviting me to speak today. I'm the marketing manager at Bioscientifica, which is the publisher of the Society for Endocrinology journals. I studied natural sciences before moving into the publishing field about 7 years ago, so if you ever have any questions about publishing or anything that I raise in the talk today, come and find me at the end. So I read recently that a published article was an advert for research. I've never really thought about it that way, more that an article is a record of a few years' hard work. But if you think about it, researchers have to publish to get grants and advance their careers. But really, we publish results to disseminate them and to advance knowledge, to advance science. So why would research be like an advert? So if you think for a second about mainstream media and their marketing campaigns, they're viral, they're interactive, they're shocking, there's quite a lot of one-upmanship. They're basically all doing a little bit more to get ahead of each other. It's a bit of an arms race. What they're doing is trying to stay visible. And it's the same in a way for scientific publishing. Why? Because each year, about 2 million new articles are published, and 50% of those are never even read. 90% are never cited. And so the recent publish or perish culture of modern academia, which is partly to blame for this explosion, then becomes that you, next slide please, that you publish and perish anyway. And so the new mantra for scientific publishing is, next slide please, is visible or vanish, or discoverable or die. Next slide please. And so I know what you're all thinking, I don't want to have to promote myself, I don't have the time. But when you've put so much of your increasingly precious time into doing the research, writing a paper, and seeing it through the peer review process, you may as well take that 1 or 2 hours extra to promote your paper and raise it above the parapet when there are so many other papers out there that people have to read. So this is a 3-step process to tell you how you can maximize the dissemination of your research, the readership, and to increase the impact of your work. With minimal effort. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to find out what's new and exciting about your research. You may want to talk about how it advances the field that you work in. And write with your personality. If you have humor, then go with it. It does go down well. So the next thing you want to do is to find out which channels you want to communicate through. And this could be long-form text, such as blog posts or magazine articles. It could be short-form text. It could be imagery, like posters, presentations, infographics, or even video or audio, or all of the above. And the trick here is to be savvy. You don't need to keep writing for all of these different channels. Just write the one time and then chop and change as you wish for the different media channels. And there's a slogan that we live by in marketing, or how to cope with a high workload. So COPE, create once and publish everywhere. So one of the channels that you can use then to hold this content is Kudos. So Kudos offers a free toolkit for authors to explain, enrich, and share their data. So they will talk you through the steps and then allow you to share your research and all of the other things that may come along with your research, such as extra data, maybe a presentation that you gave at a conference, or a video that you created to talk about your research. They then also allow you to see the results. So what I've shown here is that there's been an author activity, and you can see the resulting impact, the views of the research paper are going up and up. So it's a really nice tool to use. And all Society for Endocrinology journal articles are loaded into Kudos and waiting to be claimed. So if you've published in one of our journals, then go ahead and sign up. You can also use academic networking sites to disseminate your research. One of the best ones and the most popular is ResearchGate. It's really good just to find collaborators. You can ask questions, you can share your publications. And I think the main thing to do with all of these is just to make sure that your publication record is up to date. Keep your profile active, so anytime you move institution or you publish a new paper, just have a few different places that you know that you need to go and update to show your latest profile. So as I go through all of these different channels, I'll be putting relevant tips up on the screen. Albert Beckers is somebody who's been publishing quite a lot in endocrine-related cancer recently. So I did a bit of a search for him on Twitter, and sure enough, found a few tweets that are talking about him but aren't necessarily mentioning him or anybody that he works with. So it's a really good idea before you get started to just do a little search for yourself and your research, and then interact with them. You can just retweet if it is Twitter. And yeah, it's a really good way to find out what people are saying about you. You can also use social media to share your research. One of my favorites in particular is Twitter, and I've highlighted some of the others here that you can use. And Twitter's a really great tool for increasing discoverability, even if you have absolutely no followers. But as a side tip, one way to increase the number of followers that you have is to share people that have similar interests to yourself. So I've put a really good example of a tweet down here. So what Christine has done, she's used hashtags for relevant subjects to the paper that she's published. And what hashtags do is create a stream of content that use these particular hashtags. So if I was searching for hashtag thyroid cancer, for instance, they would all come up in the one place. So it's a really good idea to get yourself noticed. Christine has also CC'd in relevant accounts to her paper. So this is the journal, its publisher, and a society that she belongs to. And individually, these are all managed by different people, but they have all retweeted this tweet. And altogether, they have about 6,000 followers. So that's 6,000 extra people that she could potentially get in front of. So that's a really good idea. You could also think about copying in your colleagues and your institution. Another good idea with Twitter is to use your biography to your advantage. So this is the Journal of Endocrinology's biography. So this appears on the profile page. So what we've done here, we've included hashtag endocrinology. So now anybody looking for accounts that are related to endocrinology will instantly find the journal. So what you can do here, you could link to your latest research paper. You could maybe include hashtags on your research field, anything that's particularly relevant to you at that point in time. And I've also included some useful hashtags if you're just getting started out on Twitter. And it doesn't all have to be serious and just about your research. If you want to go down the comedy route, then do. And these are really great to just look at in your coffee break as well. They're really good fun. So another great thing you can do is pin a tweet. So this holds it stationary at the top of your profile whilst you keep tweeting other posts. So I've just showed the example of Journal of Endocrinology here. As Colin said, we've got this great new impact factor that pushes up right up top above endocrinology, so I had to squeeze that in somewhere. So Facebook, I've included Facebook here. You might think my Facebook friends are family and old school friends, so there's no point posting about my research. But you should. Not only will your mum be really proud, but it does connect your research with search queries looking for your research, and it does push you higher up the search rankings. And the same goes for Google+. So whilst I bet nobody in this room actually has a Google+ account, Google actually values posts on Google higher up, and they do go higher up in the search rankings. So it's good to just put the post out there with a link, and hopefully anyone searching in Google for thyroid cancer research, your posts will come up higher. And Reddit, it shouldn't be underestimated because it's a discussion forum. A lot of user-generated content is taken off Reddit by journalists. And they also have some really interesting scientific-related threads, like the Ask Me Anything thread. So you see scientists just doing a quick summary of their research, and then they just open themselves up to a barrage of questions from the people that are on Reddit. And it's really interesting. I recommend going on, even if you don't want to do it yourself. So another tip, if you really don't have the time for social media, and I'm seeing this more and more often, you can create a lab account and just share the password around, just to share the effort. So if you're a keen writer, you might want to consider blogging. You can use sites such as WordPress and Blogger. If you don't want to commit, you could offer guest blogs to places that do have blogs, such as your institution, your publisher, a society. So this is the Society for Endocrinology's blog, the Endocrine Post. Another option is to video blog, so vlogging. So remember just to keep it short, speak clearly, and to use subtitles for people that can't watch with audio, maybe when they're on a train or something, and for people who don't have English as a first language. And again, if you don't want to blog about your research, you can blog about something else, maybe your latest mishap in the lab or something. Just always remember to link to your research at the end. So with all of the channels that I'm talking about today, this tip is really key. Don't just write, you can read more about my research here, and then copy and paste the link straight in. If you put it behind the keyword, again, it will put you higher in the Google rankings. So another great way to get your research out there is to get your institution involved. It can be as simple as just printing out the copies of your latest research and pinning them to the notice board for people to just grab as they go past. Again, make sure your institutional profile is always up to date. Just put a note in your diary whenever you're published, update it. You can ask your institution to use all of the same communication tools that you have been using. So their social media page, their blogs, other things like that. They do have a duty to help you to increase the impact of your research. And you might want to consider using your latest research paper in a journal club or present your latest research findings to your department. So if you want to make every single view count in your article level metrics, remember to send the actual link to your paper rather than the PDF. So if your research findings are of high interest, you might find that they get picked up by the media. What you need to do here is to plan well in advance. So work with whoever, whichever press office you can access, whether that's your publisher, your institution, or your society, so that you can make sure that the paper's embargoed and isn't published until you are ready to send that press release out. And do engage with journalists. They really do want to write a good story. So another great way to disseminate your research is to get your publisher involved. This is an example of Adrian Daly, who's published quite a lot in endocrine-related cancer recently. So we said to him, do you fancy making a video? I think he got a webcam at home. He put together a really quick video. I think it's only about 5 minutes long. And he's just discussing some of his latest research findings and why they're important. And we put that into our email newsletter. So that goes out to about 30,000 people around the world that are interested in endocrine-related cancer. And he got a lot of views from that. So if you do have content that you want to make, then do ask your publisher, because we're more than happy to help. It actually makes our job a lot easier as well. So this motley crew is the JOJ and me editorial board, or some of them. And these are our publishers. This is Francis, who's the marketing executive. Catherine, head of publishing. We've got Alison here, who'll be answering your queries to journal-related submissions. And Laura here. And these guys are all on the Bioscientifica stands if you have any questions about working in publishing or anything in my talk today. So do go and find them out and say hello. So another thing that the publisher can help you do is to tweet your research for you, and we do actually now include collection of Twitter handles as part of the submission process. So do let us know whether that's your institutional one or your own personal Twitter handle. We're more than happy. As soon as we get your paper online in the final form, we will tweet that for you. So some final points to end on. Some really simple things, just like emailing people that might be interested in your research. Just send them your latest paper. So simple to do, but often overlooked. You might also want to consider referencing it wherever relevant, if it is relevant on Wikipedia. Think about different languages. Might you be able to translate your abstract into a different language so that other people can access it easily? And also think about uploading your accepted manuscript to institutional or subject repositories. Oh, one final one, and this is probably one of my favorites. If you think about all of the people that you email in the space of just 1 week, you may as well maximize that opportunity by just putting a link into your email signature, just on the off chance that some people will click. And I just popped Deborah Marsh's signature down here. Deborah is an oncologist in the University of Sydney. She's actually included non-traditional contact data down in the bottom. It's another really great idea just to get connected with people in all different kinds of media. So once you've done all that work, you want to watch as your results go up. How can you do that? So this is the Article Usage Statistics Center. And on our journals, you can find the link to that in the right-hand column. So this shows you the download data for your article, as well as the altmetric attention score. So this looks at non-traditional media, such as social media, blogs. It also looks at Wikipedia, at government policies, Mendeley citations as well. So this is a Journal of Endocrinology paper that we published in the summer. There was a lot of punny Twitter activity attracted just because it was related to cows. So that helped to push its altmetric score up. But you can actually see they were double the news outlets compared to the tweets. And that contributed to more than double for this altmetric attention score. And that's because these different sources are weighted differently. So for instance, a Twitter post counts 4 times more than a Facebook post, which is quite interesting. So after you've done all the hard work, I've told you why you should do it. Now here's some evidence. Kudos, which is the publication hub that I told you about right at the start, they did an independent study and found that people using the Kudos toolkit saw 23% increase in article usage once they'd used it. So this is Professor Terra. She did a mini experiment on her own papers. She promoted 3 of them on social media and ignored the 4th. And you can see that the results are quite apparent. This is Heidi Allen. She did something similar and saw that the average views went from 6 up to 18. And she also got a +1 paper out of it too. And this man, he was trying to promote his conference slides, so it might not be always your research paper that you want to promote. This works for anything. So he used social media and blogs, and his views went up to the thousands from 311 and that measly 3. And finally, it has been shown that Mendeley bookmarks do correlate to citations. So the evidence is there. And one final tip, if you encourage your co-authors to do all of the above, then the effect will be doubled, tripled, and so on. Thank you.